Every time you stop at a traffic signal, you are compelled to cover your nose or else you end up breathing polluted air. But what does the term pollution mean? Pollution, simply put, is an undesirable change in the physical, chemical or biological characteristics of air, water, land or soil that may have detrimental effects on living organisms. Substances that bring about such undesirable changes are called pollutants. The air we breathe has become highly polluted over the last decade due to air pollutants such as automobile exhausts, chemicals and toxic gases from industries, and natural particulate matter such as dust, pollen and ash. These pollutants not only pollute the air, but also have detrimental effects on all living organisms. Depending on the concentration of the pollutants and the duration of exposure, plants and animals are affected in different ways. When plants are exposed to polluted air, they may exhibit leaf blade damage, cellular collapse, premature aging, reduced growth and crop yields, or the plants may even die. Like plants, the harmful effects of air pollutants are seen in animals, including human beings. Eye and nasal irritation, headache, shortness of breath, and respiratory diseases are some of the harmful effects of air pollutants. Every year, the health of people and roadside plants has been deteriorating due to a continuous rise in air pollution. So, how do we make our environment healthier? In 1986, our government passed the Environment Protection Act with a view to take preventive actions to control environmental pollution. This act made several industries and smelters adopt various methods to separate or filter particulate and gaseous matter that were released into the atmosphere through their smokestacks. One of the most widely used methods to filter particulate matter uses an electrostatic precipitator which is capable of removing over 99% of particulate matter present in industrial exhaust. Another method requires the use of scrubbers. However, this method is incapable of removing very tiny particulate matter. According to the Central Pollution Control Board, or CPCB, particulate matter measuring 2.5 micrometers or less in diameter is responsible for causing many respiratory diseases. Apart from pollutants released from industries, automobile exhausts are also a potent source of air pollution. With the ever-increasing number of vehicles in our country, it has become essential to take proper measures to minimize the release of vehicular exhausts. For instance, the use of catalytic converters and unleaded petrol or diesel has helped reduce vehicular pollution considerably. Did you know that catalytic converters contain catalysts made of expensive metals such as platinum, palladium, and rhodium? When fitted into vehicles, a catalytic converter changes poisonous exhaust gases such as unburnt hydrocarbons into carbon dioxide and water. Likewise, carbon monoxide and nitric oxide are converted into carbon dioxide and nitrogen gas respectively. Catalytic converters thus reduce the emission of poisonous gases. However, vehicles fitted with catalytic converters should use unleaded petrol, as lead in the petrol inactivates the catalyst. In addition, the use of compressed natural gas or CNG has also proved very helpful in reducing air pollution. Interestingly, the use of CNG was accelerated when a public interest litigation was filed in the Supreme Court of India due to serious air pollution problems in Delhi in the 1990s. The court asked the government to take appropriate measures in a specified time frame, which also included converting all diesel buses to CNG buses. In fact, by the end of 2002, all buses in Delhi were running on cheaper and more efficient CNG. Besides the use of CNG, unleaded petrol and catalytic converters, the government of Delhi has also taken several other measures to control air pollution. This includes the use of low-sulfur petrol and diesel and the implementation of stringent pollution level norms for vehicles. Moreover, the Indian government formulated a new auto fuel policy to reduce vehicular pollution in other cities as well. This policy was based on the European standards or Euro norms and took effect in 2000. These norms are more stringent and required vehicle engines to be upgraded. The implementation of these stringent norms has considerably improved air quality. However, another air pollutant, noise, also required serious attention, and so amendments were made to the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, which was implemented in India in 1981 to include noise as an air pollutant. Noise is an undesirable high level of sound which has an adverse effect on human beings. Studies show that exposure to a sound level of 150 decibels or more may damage the eardrum, thereby permanently impairing hearing ability. In fact, even prolonged exposure to lower sound levels, such as drilling and industrial noise, could have the same effect. Noise also causes sleeplessness, stress, increased heartbeat, and an altered breathing pattern. Considering these harmful effects, the government has taken stringent measures to regulate sound levels in cities as well as industrial belts. For instance, in cities, the areas around hospitals and schools have been declared no horn zones, and time limits have been set for the use of loudspeakers. Industries have also been encouraged to use sound-absorbent materials, and workers too, who are exposed to loud sound levels, are being encouraged by the government to use earmuffs. Although our country has several legislative measures to prevent and control air pollution, it is our individual responsibility to control pollution levels to ensure a healthy environment. Did you know that less than 1% of the fresh water on Earth can be directly used for human consumption? Rapid urbanization and industrialization has brought into focus the consequences of environmental pollution. The problem is enhanced by the fact that most water bodies have become contaminated with a variety of pollutants. Pollutants flowing into water bodies are broadly classified as domestic sewage and industrial effluents. The term domestic sewage refers to wastewater that drains from houses in a town or city. This domestic sewage contains about 99.9% water and 0.1% impurities such as suspended soils, colloidal and dissolved materials. Sadly, this small percentage of impurities makes water unfit for human consumption. Every town or city has sewage treatment plants for the removal of these pollutants before they are released into rivers or the sea. The removal of solids is relatively easy compared to dissolved salts such as nitrates and phosphates, and toxic metals such as lead and mercury, and organic compounds such as dyes and pesticides. Apart from these pollutants, microorganisms also form a primary component of the sewage. These microorganisms decompose and treat the organic sewage matter by using it as a substrate to multiply. However, during this process of decomposition, microorganisms require a lot of oxygen, which is measured in terms of biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD. The concentration of BOD in the sewage water discharged into the water is high. A high concentration of BOD automatically translates into low amounts of dissolved oxygen, or DO, as depicted in this graph. High BOD and low DO ultimately cause the death of fish and other aquatic creatures. Another reason for the mortality of aquatic fauna is algal bloom formed due to large amounts of nutrients such as ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, and phosphates in water. These algal blooms impart a distinct color and odor to the water bodies. Moreover, they deplete all the dissolved oxygen vital for aquatic life. Besides these floating algal blooms, you also see plants such as water cabbage and water hyacinth floating on water bodies. Decades ago, these plants were introduced in water for their beautiful shape and flowers. However, they have now become troublesome aquatic weeds that are spreading rapidly and causing an imbalance in the ecosystem dynamics of water bodies. In addition to sewage, human activities such as agricultural runoff accelerate the aging process of lakes. This phenomenon is called cultural or accelerated eutrophication. Sewage wastes may also contain pathogenic protozoa, bacteria, and viruses that are discharged from hospitals and houses into the water, which may cause the outbreak of serious diseases such as dysentery, typhoid, jaundice, and cholera. Apart from domestic sewage, industrial effluents also pollute water bodies. Biomagnification is an increase in the concentration of a toxicant at successive trophic levels. For example, biomagnification of DDT in an aquatic food chain including zooplankton, small fish, large fish, and fish-eating birds is as shown in the diagram. High concentration of DDT disturbs calcium metabolism in birds, which causes thinning of eggshells and their premature breaking. This eventually results in a decline in bird population. Apart from releasing toxic pollutants, industries such as thermal power plants also release heated or thermal wastewater into water bodies. This wastewater has various adverse effects on aquatic life. It can kill or reduce the number of organisms sensitive to high temperatures and can also damage indigenous flora and fauna. Apart from thermal wastes, oil spills too can contaminate water bodies and, in the process, kill aquatic life. The decomposition of these dead organisms further depletes the water's dissolved oxygen, choking the water body to death. We human beings have been polluting water in various ways, and without stringent measures, it will be difficult to protect it. Industries such as paper manufacturing, petroleum, sugar and textile mills release tons of wastewater that contain toxic metals such as lead, mercury and copper, along with detergents, alcohol and acids into water bodies. These pollutants are highly toxic to aquatic fauna and other animals, including human beings. An example of water toxicity and its effects can be seen in Japan. In the 1950s, several people fell ill and even died due to the consumption of mercury-contaminated fish. This toxic methyl mercury was released into the water by industries, which caused the Minamata disease that caused numbness of limbs, lips, blurring of vision, and mental disorders. Toxic substances such as mercury, cyanide, and DDT are not biodegradable and get incorporated into the food chain, causing biomagnification of the toxicant. Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. This situation may soon turn into a reality if we don't take steps to control water pollution, which is the result of rapid urbanization and industrialization in the last few decades. The problem of water pollution has worsened ever since large quantities of domestic sewage and industrial wastes have been dumped into water bodies. Realizing the importance of clean water, the government passed the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in 1974. This act made it mandatory to treat wastewater in treatment plants. The treatment consists of 3 stages: primary, secondary, and tertiary. In fact, most cities in the world have developed a combination of natural and artificial processes to treat wastewater. Let us take a look at such integrated wastewater treatment in Arcata, situated along the northern coast of California. To find a solution to wastewater, the people of Arcata collaborated with biologists from the Humboldt State University to integrate wastewater treatment within a natural system. The wastewater was treated in 2 stages. The first stage included treatments like conventional sedimentation, filtration, and chlorination. While in the second stage, the wastewater was passed through 6 connected marshes spread over 60 hectares of marshland. These marshes were developed using appropriate plants, algae, fungi, and bacteria suggested by the biologists. As wastewater passed through the series of marshes, it was naturally purified by plants, algae, fungi, and bacteria, which helped to neutralize, absorb, and assimilate the toxic pollutants such as heavy metals. Besides cleaning the wastewater, these marshes have developed into a sanctuary with a large number of fish, animals, and birds inhabiting them, thereby increasing the biodiversity of this region. This sanctuary was taken care of by a citizens group called Friends of the Arcata Marsh. In this manner, the people of Arcata were able to treat the wastewater they generated. Do you know how much wastewater is used or generated by an individual daily? Close to 150 liters. In fact, a large amount of water is used in toilets. What if you could save that amount of water? The answer is ecological sanitation, or eco-san, a sustainable system for handling human excreta by using dry composting toilets. Such eco-san toilets not only eliminate wastewater generation, but are also practical, hygienic, efficient, and cost-effective. In addition, the natural fertilizer produced from recycled human excreta is used in fields, which forms an excellent substitute for harmful chemical fertilizers. At present, this system is being efficiently used in many areas in Kerala and Sri Lanka. In this manner, integrating natural systems to treat wastewater is an efficient, practical, and cost-effective way to handle, prevent, and reduce water pollution. Anything you throw in your trash bin, whether paper, plastics, glass, metals, rubber, leather, textiles, and leftover food, is known as solid waste. Such solid wastes are dumped in large garbage bins placed in your locality. Apart from households, waste is also generated by offices, schools, and hospitals, which is called municipal solid waste. This waste is then collected by the municipality and ultimately dumped far away from the city. For years, municipal solid wastes have been dumped in open lands outside towns and cities. Heaps of solid wastes were burnt to reduce the volume. However, this waste was not completely burnt and soon became a breeding ground for rats and flies. Later, open dumping grounds were replaced by sanitary landfills, in which wastes were compacted and dumped in a depression or trench. Sadly, these landfills did not provide an answer to the increasing amount of municipal solid wastes, as the landfills filled up faster than expected. Moreover, leaching of harmful chemicals from these landfills was also contaminating groundwater. So, what is the best way to handle solid waste? The best way is to segregate it into three categories: recyclable, biodegradable, and non-biodegradable. Recyclable or reusable wastes such as glass bottles, some types of plastics, and paper can be given to rag pickers. while biodegradable wastes, such as vegetable, fruit and food wastes, can be put into composting pits in gardens. The remaining non-biodegradable wastes, such as plastic, thermocol, chemicals and paints, need to be carefully handled. In fact, plastic is one of the main components of municipal solid waste, as its use in packaging has increased tremendously in the last few years. For instance, this chocolate is wrapped in 2 protective layers of plastic. Similarly, most food items are packaged in multiple layers of plastic. Moreover, the use of plastic bags has significantly contributed to environmental pollution, as it has choked drainage pipes and caused severe land pollution. State governments across the country have therefore taken serious steps to reduce the use of plastic bags and have encouraged the use of eco-friendly bags. A highly commendable effort taken by Ahmad Khan, a plastic sack manufacturer in Bangalore, is worth mentioning. He found an impressive solution to beat the ever-increasing problem of plastic waste. About 8 years ago, his company developed Polyblend, a fine powder of recycled modified plastic. This material was mixed with bitumen and used in the construction of roads. In fact, in collaboration with RV College of Engineering and the Bangalore City Corporation, Ahmad Khan was successful in proving that the lifespan of such roads increased 3 times. With such innovative solutions, we shall soon be able to eliminate environmental problems due to plastic. Besides plastic waste, another hazardous waste that requires attention is medical waste, which is disposed by hospitals, nursing homes, and clinics. It consists of harmful materials such as disposable syringes, surgical instruments, tubes, bottles, disinfectants, and blood-soaked cotton. With the aim to control the treatment and disposal of medical waste, the Biomedical Waste Management Rules were issued under the Environment Protection Act in 1998. Since then, the use of medical incinerators has become crucial in hospitals and nursing homes, where medical wastes are properly burnt. Another solid waste that requires serious attention is electronic waste, commonly known as e-waste, and includes irreparable computers and other electronic goods. Sadly, more than half the e-waste generated in developed countries is exported to developing countries such as China, India, and Pakistan for recycling, in which metals such as copper, iron, silicon, nickel, and gold are recovered. Cheap laborers manually handle the e-waste and are exposed to toxic substances such as lead, mercury, and cadmium. Such toxic substances pose a threat to human health and the environment. Although recycling is the only solution for treating e-waste, the process must safeguard human and environmental health. Therefore, it is essential to recycle and reuse as many items as possible, as it plays a crucial role in managing and reducing solid wastes. In prehistoric times, human beings lived in harmony with nature. But as centuries passed, human needs changed to greed, and soon they started exploiting nature's wealth. Various human activities such as overexploitation, habitat fragmentation, and pollution greatly degraded our natural resources. Apart from these factors, improper resource utilization has caused soil erosion, desertification, waterlogging, and soil salinity. Although soil is naturally eroded by forces such as rain and wind, human activities such as overcultivation, poor irrigation, unrestricted grazing, and deforestation have resulted in arid patches of land. When large patches of such arid land meet, a desert is formed. This phenomenon is called desertification. In fact, rapid urbanization has increased desertification, which is a major problem worldwide. Apart from desertification, agricultural lands are under pressure due to increasing population. Moreover, agricultural malpractices have caused waterlogging and soil salinity, thereby degrading our fields. Waterlogging takes place when irrigated land does not have proper drainage. In such waterlogged land, salts are pulled up to the surface of the soil. Soon the salts start accumulating around the roots or form a thin layer on the surface. Large amounts of salt in the soil are detrimental to plant growth. Sometimes an entire crop is damaged due to soil salinity. Sadly, increasing population is also responsible for converting large forest areas into agricultural land and for construction purposes. This conversion of forested area to non-forested area is called deforestation. Almost 40% of tropical forests have been deforested compared to only 1% of temperate forests. The situation of deforestation in India is heartbreaking. In the early 20th century, forest cover was about 30%, which decreased to 19.4% by the end of the century. Did you know that the National Forest Policy of India, 1988, recommends that hills and plains have forest cover of 67 and 33% respectively? Despite this policy, deforestation has continued in India. One of the major reasons is that exponential growth in human population has increased the demand for agricultural land. In fact, in the northeastern states, slash-and-burn agriculture, commonly known as jhum cultivation, has significantly contributed to deforestation. In this type of cultivation, farmers cut trees in the forest, burn the remains, and cultivate crops on the ash-enriched soil. After cultivation, they move to another segment of the forest and repeat the process, resulting in loss of forest cover. So what if forest cover is lost? How will deforestation affect us? Trees play a crucial role in the ecosystem, where they hold a lot of carbon in their biomass. Deforestation means an increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide and habitat loss, which causes loss of biodiversity due to loss of forest cover. In addition, deforestation disturbs the hydrologic cycle, causing soil erosion, and in extreme cases may lead to desertification. Therefore, reforestation, a process of restoring a forest that once existed but was cleared in the past, is imperative. Although reforestation may occur naturally, we can accelerate the process by planting trees that earlier existed in that area. Apart from reforestation, conservation of existing forests is equally important. Our country has a long history of people's courage to conserve forests. Let us take a look at some interesting events. In 1731, a Bishnoi woman named Amrita Devi showed commendable bravery by hugging a tree when the king of Jodhpur sent his men to cut trees for his new palace. She was adamant and defied the king's men, saying the axe would have to fall on her before they cut the tree. Sadly, her 3 daughters and hundreds of other Bishnois followed her, sacrificing their lives to save trees. The Government of India recently instituted the Amrita Devi Bishnoi Wildlife Protection Award for individuals and communities from rural areas who show extraordinary courage and dedication in protecting wildlife. Another courageous act was that of the local women of Garhwal in the Himalayas in 1974. They too showed courage by hugging trees and preventing them from being cut by contractors. This movement came to be known as the Chipko Movement, which is now acclaimed worldwide. Taking note of the importance of participation by local communities, the Government of India in the 1980s introduced the concept of joint forest management. This concept encourages the participation of local communities to protect and manage forests. In return, these communities get the benefit of collecting various forest products such as fruit, gum, and medicinal plants. In this way, every measure taken to prevent degradation of our natural resources is important, where we understand the importance of sustainable development. This is a greenhouse. A greenhouse is a glass structure that allows us to grow plants throughout the year, especially in winter when sunlight is minimum. A greenhouse traps solar energy and heats the interior, while the roof and walls slow the escape of heat. This process resembles the way the atmosphere helps keep the earth warm by trapping solar heat, and hence the term greenhouse effect is used to describe the earth's heating process. Interestingly, without the greenhouse effect, the average temperature of the earth's surface would have been -18 degrees Celsius, rather than the present average temperature of 15 degrees Celsius. To understand the greenhouse effect, let us see what happens to sunlight when it reaches the Earth's atmosphere. When solar radiation enters the atmosphere, it gets absorbed by clouds and gases. However, about 1/4 of the incoming solar radiation is reflected by clouds and gases. The atmosphere allows most of the radiation to pass through and heat the Earth's surface. The Earth, in return, reflects some of this heat back into the atmosphere as infrared radiation. Most of this long-wave infrared radiation does not escape back into space, as it is absorbed by atmospheric gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and ozone, to name a few. These gases, commonly known as greenhouse gases, then send the infrared radiation back to the Earth's surface, thereby heating the surface again. This cycle repeats several times, thereby resulting in the greenhouse effect. In the last few decades, the amount of greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide, has increased in the atmosphere primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels, coal and oil. This has resulted in continuous heating of the Earth, which has led to global warming. Did you know that during the last century, mainly in the last 3 decades, the temperature of the Earth has increased by 0.6 degrees Celsius? Scientists believe that this rise in temperature is resulting in odd climatic changes such as the El Niño effect and melting of polar and mountain ice caps. This active melting of glaciers and snow caps will result in a rise in sea level, which could submerge many coastal areas. Global warming may have several adverse effects in future, which scientists are still researching. Since we are aware of the consequences of global warming, how can we control it? By making small changes in our lifestyle, such as reducing the use of fossil fuels, reducing deforestation, optimally utilizing energy, and planting trees, we can help reduce global warming. This reduction in the use of fossil fuels and deforestation will also reduce the amount of greenhouse gases, which are responsible for global warming. International organizations such as United Nations Environment Programme and Greenpeace are taking measures to control 2 major environmental issues: global warming and the greenhouse effect. However, global warming and the greenhouse effect can only be tackled if we all actively contribute to its reduction. The formation of ozone dates back several billion years, when the Earth was formed. Initially, there was no atmosphere. The Earth's surface was covered by water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and ammonia released from a molten mass. Gradually, the ultraviolet rays of the sun broke up the water vapor to form hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen, being a lighter gas than oxygen, escaped. The high-energy ultraviolet rays of the sun reacted with other oxygen molecules to form ozone. Ozone is found in low concentrations throughout the Earth's atmosphere. However, about 90% of ozone is found in the lower portion of the stratosphere, where it forms the ozone layer. This layer is between 13 kilometers and 20 kilometers above the Earth's surface and varies geographically and seasonally. The thickness of the ozone layer is measured in Dobson units. Depending on the function of ozone, it is categorized as bad or good. In the troposphere, Ozone is considered an air pollutant as it harms plants and animals, and it is thus known as bad ozone. While in the stratosphere, ozone acts as a protective covering and blocks about 95 to 99% of harmful ultraviolet rays from entering the Earth. Here it is referred to as good ozone. Unfortunately, various human activities have resulted in depletion of the protective ozone layer. Moreover, there has been an imbalance between production and degradation of ozone in the atmosphere. This degradation has occurred due to chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs, which are mainly used as refrigerants in air conditioners, refrigerators, and aerosol products. When CFCs are discharged into the atmosphere, they move up to reach the stratosphere and, being long-lived molecules, remain in their original state. In the stratosphere, CFCs react with ultraviolet rays, releasing chlorine atoms, which in turn degrades ozone-releasing molecular oxygen. These chlorine atoms function as catalysts only. Moreover, the continuous addition of CFCs results in further degradation of the ozone layer. Scientists discovered that the decrease of ozone in the upper atmosphere depends on latitude. Studies have shown that the decrease in ozone is strongest in regions over the South Pole, that is, the Antarctic region. This thinned ozone layer is called an ozone hole. Similarly, there is an ozone hole over the Arctic region, but over a smaller area. The thinning of the ozone layer has made it possible for ultraviolet rays to reach the Earth's surface. These rays are highly injurious to organisms as they break the chemical bonds in DNA and protein molecules. Moreover, prolonged exposure to ultraviolet rays has harmful effects on human beings. It causes aging of the skin, damage to skin cells, and various types of skin cancers. Moreover, if the cornea of the eye absorbs high doses of UVB radiations, it causes inflammation of the cornea, commonly known as snow blindness cataract. Prolonged exposure to these rays may also permanently damage the cornea. Realizing the harmful effects of CFCs on the depletion of the ozone layer, 31 nations signed the Montreal Protocol in 1987 to limit their production of CFCs. As of today, 196 nations have signed the protocol. Several other measures have been taken and protocols laid down, with separate roadmaps for developed and developing countries to ensure a reduction in the emission of CFCs and other ozone-depleting substances, or ODS. We too can prevent and control the depletion of the ozone layer by avoiding the use of CFCs and other ODS. A recent study showed that a large number of children in Punjab were detected with a small amount of chemicals in their bodies. These chemicals have had serious health consequences. In fact, the entire state is witnessing health consequences due to intensive farming and the use of agrochemicals during the Green Revolution. Though the Green Revolution enhanced crop production in our country, it also caused serious harm to the environment. This revolution encouraged farmers to use various agrochemicals such as fertilizers, pesticides, and fungicides for better and increased crop production. However, the use of these agrochemicals has polluted soil, thereby reducing its fertility. Moreover, when water flows through these polluted fields, the runoff carries the agrochemicals into water bodies, thereby polluting them as well. Leaching of these harmful substances has also contaminated groundwater. In fact, large quantities of these chemicals in agricultural runoff have caused eutrophication in many water bodies. Apart from fertilizers, farmers were also encouraged to use pesticides to kill insect pests, nematodes, and rodents, which damage crops. However, these pesticides also harmed non-target organisms such as symbiotic bacteria, earthworms, honeybees, fish, amphibians, and birds, which form a part of the soil and water ecosystem. In fact, most of the pesticides such as DDT, chlorpyrifos, and aldrin are non-biodegradable and are easily incorporated into the food chain, thereby causing biomagnification of the toxicant. For instance, biomagnification of chemicals in the terrestrial food chain includes grass, cattle, and human beings. Similarly, biomagnifications of DDT in an aquatic food chain, including zooplankton, small fish, large fish, and fish-eating birds, is shown in the diagram. Apart from biomagnification, there are some serious agricultural problems that need immediate attention. One of the best ways to address this problem is by incorporating organic farming. Organic farming is a cyclic, zero-waste procedure where waste products from one process are cycled in as nutrients for other processes. This allows the optimum use of resources and increases production. Taking note of the benefits of organic farming, several farmers are trying to adopt this mode of farming. One such farmer is Ramesh Chandar Dagar from Sonipat. He has implemented environment-friendly activities like beekeeping, dairy management, composting, water harvesting, and agriculture, which function as a chain of processes. These processes support each other and form an economical and sustainable venture. He used cattle dung as manure, while crop waste was used to create compost and generate natural gas. Ramesh Chandar Dagar also established an association named the Haryana Kisan Welfare Club to spread awareness about integrated organic farming. This club has a membership of about 5,000 farmers. By integrating organic farming, farmers can revive our environment and help create a better living place for themselves. Besides agrochemical wastes, another hazardous waste is radioactive waste, which is polluting our environment. although some radioisotopes such as radium-226 and uranium-235 occur naturally in rocks and soil, others like cobalt-60, krypton-85 and strontium-90 are formed as fission products from nuclear reactors and atomic bomb fallout. Initially, nuclear energy was used in a non-polluting way to generate electricity. However, later it was realized that the use of nuclear reactors had two very inherent problems: accidental leakage and safe disposal of radioactive wastes. One of the most tragic radioactive disasters occurred on April 26, 1986, in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near the town of Pripyat in the Ukraine. The accident occurred when one of the reactors of the plant underwent a catastrophic increase in power, leading to an explosion. During the explosion, large amounts of radioactive substances were dispersed in the air. These radiations severely affected life in Pripyat. Many people suffered from acute radiation sickness, where their organ tissues were damaged due to excessive exposure to radiation. Several others developed cancer and tumors and underwent genetic mutations. In a few weeks, people evacuated this town. Nuclear radiations are extremely harmful to organisms. High doses of radiation can cause gene mutations and may even cause death. At lower doses, these radiations cause various disorders, cancer being the most common. Therefore, it is important to handle any radioactive waste with utmost caution. It is strongly advised that nuclear wastes be buried within rocks 500 meters below the Earth's surface after they have been pre-treated and stored in shielded containers. The use of radioactive and agrochemical substances has several benefits too. However, their use should be minimized, as agrochemical substances can harm the environment and radioactive wastes can prove hazardous if not disposed carefully.